everyone, I'm April Tan and welcome back to another episode of Intelligent Investing Market Talk series. Today we're going to talk about Apex Mining, one of the Philippines' major gold producers and a company that has delivered strong earnings and share price performance over the past few years. Apex owns and operates the Mako Gold Mine in Davao de Oro, which currently accounts for around 90% of revenues. The remaining 10% comes from the Sangilo Mine in Itogon, operated through its wholly owned subsidiary, Itogon Suyok Resources. Beyond its existing mines, Apex has been positioning itself for long-term growth. Aside from continuously exploring and increasing the production capacity of the Mako and Sangilo mines, in 2023, Apex acquired Asia Alliance Mining Resources, located right next to the Mako mine. While this will eventually provide a new tailings storage facility, Asia Alliance also comes with a 19,000-hectare tenement containing at least 45 mineral prospects, giving Apex a clear runway for expansion. Apex also owns Monte Oro Resources and Energy, which holds a 30% participating interest in Service Contract 72 in the Recto Bank West Philippine Sea. Financially, Apex has delivered strong results, as it benefited from a combination of higher production, rising gold prices, and the depreciation of the peso. Over the past 5 years, profits increased by more than tenfold from roughly 306 million pesos in 2019 to about 4.3 billion pesos in 2024. While in the first 9 months of 2025, profits jumped by another 78% year-on-year to 5.4 billion pesos. The stock has reflected this performance, rising from around 99 centavos at the end of 2019 to about 15.20 today. So the big question is this: can Apex sustain this strong earnings performance even if gold prices stay where they're at? To help us answer that, we're joined today by Apex Mining CFO, Treasurer, and Compliance Officer, Mr. Billy Torres. Thank you, Sir Billy, for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you, April, for inviting me here.
Okay, so let me ask you first about Mako Mine, since it accounts for around 90% of total revenues. So, you've been operating it for a long period of time. So, given Mako's current production capacity of 3,000 tons per day, how long are its reserves expected to last?
Yeah, so the Mako Mine is a 55-year-old company. It was incorporated in 1970 and currently it's operating at 2,800 to 3,000 tons per day. We have a reserve of around 9.9 million tons. And if we operate at 3,000 tons per day, that would equate to around 1 million tons per year. So we have around 10 years of mine life.
I see. So I know that you have plans to increase the capacity from 3,000 tons to 3,500 tons per day. And first of all, when do you expect this capacity to come online?
Yeah, so yes, as of now, our existing capacity is at a maximum of 3,000 tons per day. And we checked with our technical team and they were able to see that we can still upgrade it to around 3.4 to 3.5, but it will take around a year. Probably by end of the year, it will be ready for a 3,500 operations.
So probably 2027.
2027.
Yes. But I think the concern is with the increase in production. Of course, the reserves. Kanina, 10 years, that will go down. I mean, is there still room to grow those reserves?
Definitely, there's a room because we continue to do exploration. So as we explore, we discover new gold veins, and those new discovery will be added to our resource and eventually will go to our reserve as we develop the mine.
So for our viewers, can you explain the difference between resource and reserves?
Yeah, the resource, the mineral resource are those, the mineral at site. So this includes everything that you can see in the area when our geologists do the initial exploration. While the reserve, this one is the economical ores, meaning those ore that can be extracted at a profit. So that's the difference. So it's better to use the reserve as a basis of computing the mine life.
So it also depends on the price of gold.
That's right. So if the price is gold is higher, the tendency is the cut-off grade will be lower. So it will give you a bigger resource and reserve.
I see. So based on your 10 years,
Mhm.
what was the price that you assumed for gold?
Well, we used I think it's 2,500 per dollar per ounce when we did that competent person report. So imagine now at the price is currently at 5,000. So definitely there will be an additional resource and reserve.
So you're not yet close to depleting that Mako mine.
Not yet, not yet.
Not yet.
Actually, we started mining it in 1970, and I remember 10 years ago, we were just reporting around a small number of tonnage as our reserve. And then we continue to mine, but still our reserve number is still increasing because of our continued exploration and development.
So investors should not be worried about Mako being depleted anytime soon.
Exactly.
Okay. So next, let's talk about the Sangilo mine in Tugon. Compared to Mako, this is really smaller, no?
Yes.
Production capacity is 500 tons per day.
Mhm.
Tenement area, only 35 hectares. So Mako's is 2,238 hectares, right? But given the difference in scale, what excites you the most about Sangilo?
Yeah, so the Sangino mine is the one located in Benguet. So that's around 30 to 45 minutes away from Baguio City. What excites me is that actually Sangilo mine also holds another area or tenement, which is around 434 hectares. That's called APSA 103 or Application for Production Sharing Agreement number 103. So we were able to progress on that. We got the consent of the community already. So just a little more time and we will be able to operate it also.
I see. Do you already have a timeline for when you can operate this 434 hectares?
Yes. After you get the consent of the community, of course, you have to comply with all the necessary requirements, and there are still permits that we need to get. And then once you get it, you convert the APSA into an MPSA, which is Mineral Production Sharing Agreement. Once you have that, you can proceed with the exploration activity, and then you develop the mine, you do the tunneling before you can officially declare that you're in commercial operation. So that time span, if there's no significant delay, would probably be 1 year for the permitting and 2 years for the exploration, development, and construction of plant. So a total of 3 years.
Okay. So getting the APSA is one of the longest process.
Yes, because it requires approval from the region, sometimes at the central agencies. Then you have to get the consent of the community, and if there's an indigenous people there, you also have to get their consent. So it really takes a very long time.
So if it's 3 years, maybe this is a 2028,
2028. So probably in
Yeah.
2029 we can start with the commercial operation.
I see. So what's the plan? Is it like 1,000, 1,500 tons
Yeah,
per
so the
day?
initial plan was we're looking into putting up a plant of around 1,000 to 1,500 tons per day for that APSA 103.
Okay, and this is above the 500.
Yes, so
Okay.
in total, probably we'll have 500 plus 1,500, around 2,000 tons per day operation in Sangilo.
I see. So, I mean, the expansion plan really the next few years is very attractive because right now Mako is doing 3,000 plus
Yeah.
Sangilo 500, so around 3,500.
Yes.
Then you'll add another 2,000.
Another 2,000 plus another 500 in Mako
Yeah,
also. Yeah.
So this the Sangilo, the new APSA can also increase from 1,500 to, I think I've read reports saying that it could increase up to 2,000.
Yes, that's something that we have to study because as you do the exploration, you will be able to have a number that is your resource or reserve. Well, on that number, you can actually put up a plant that will maximize the extraction of gold and silver there. So it depends really on the resource and reserve, and of course the capital requirements.
Like how much is
Funding.
the capital
Yeah.
requirement?
Before we did the computation, it would be around $20 million for the setting up of plant in Sangilo.
Around 1.2 billion pesos.
Yes,
60,
yeah.
no?
Yeah.
Quite a heavy capex.
Yes, but well, with the price of gold now, I mean the potential is very high.
I see. Okay. So let's talk about Asia Alliance now.
Yes.
So in 2023, you were able to acquire this
Mhm.
Asia Alliance mining resources. And I think the beauty is it sits next to Map Mine. No?
Yes.
Okay. I mean, for the viewers, can you explain the strategic rationale behind acquiring Asia Alliance?
So yeah, you're right. It's actually surrounds the current Mako Mine operation. And when we acquired that Asia Alliance, the original plan is to have, our current tailing storage facility is nearing its maximum capacity. So we have to find another suitable location for a new tailing storage facility. So fortunately, the Asia Alliance has a very good area. So we acquired that Asia Alliance. We're currently we're doing the construction of the new tailing storage facility.
Can you explain, like, I mean, is it hard to build a tailing storage facility? I mean, it's expensive, like...
Yes, because I mean, you have to set up a suitable area that would hold your tailings for, ideally for a very long time so that you can continue your operation. Because we've identified some areas also in our existing MPSA, but it would only last for a shorter period of time. So instead of using those areas, the area in Asia Alliance would offers a relatively longer period of time to hold our tailing storage facility. We can raise it into a level that would at least give us more than 10 years of holding the tailings for us.
So in that way, you actually save money.
Yes, and we comply with the requirements because, if you do not have the tailing storage facility, there's really no way to comply with the requirements of the agencies.
I see. And for the sake of our viewers, tailings are byproducts. No?
Yes, that's a byproduct. So it includes, it also contains gold, but a very small quantity. And that's where we cleanse the chemicals we use. So it should not go to the river. That's why we are holding it in the tailing storage facility.
I see. And I mean, what else about Asia Alliance are you excited about? What about the 19,000 hectare tenement? Is that something also that excites you?
Imagine the current tenement of Apex is only around 2,200, and we acquired this 19,000 hectares, also sitting in the Masara Mineral District, which is one of the defined gold district in the Philippines. We are actually looking into a specific area there. It's the Amacan area. There's a copper potential. It was previously operated by another mining company, the North Davao Mining Corporation. And based on the reports, there is a remaining copper ore there at around 65 million tons.
Oh, that's a lot.
That's a lot. So we requested the government a permit so that we can verify that. So they granted us the authority to verify minerals. We did some drillings, and we're done with that. So right now we're just doing the finalization of the report. The report should be signed by the competent person. That's why we're waiting for the finalization, signing, and issuance of the report.
But this one, like, you don't seem to have a timeline yet for Asia Alliance, unlike the one in Sangilo.
We also have, actually, we're currently doing getting the consent of the community so that we can have the CP, condition precedent. Then after that, we'll convert the FTAA. Well, we will work into the FTAA, and then proceed with the construction, well, exploration, development, and construction of the plant. All of these will, I think, same timeline. It will also be around 3 years time. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a big mine kasi it's a copper mine, so we have to set up another copper plant in that specific area.
I see. Okay, so that's something we will also be monitoring.
Yes.
But this
yes.
one is going to be copper.
It's a copper with a byproduct of gold.
Okay. Okay, so now let's talk about profitability. So a while ago we talked about the reserves, and then you need a certain price, etc. But I'm just curious, like on the pricing of your gold, how much do you sell it for? Do you do hedging or do you just sell it based on market?
We do spot trade. We sell it based on the market price that is set by the London Bullion Market Association, or LBMA. Yeah, so actually we're benefiting from that because
The rising.
the gold price is rising, and I'm actually really excited for our next shipment because the price now is at 5,000 up level.
Yeah. So you will sell it close to there.
Yes.
If the price stays at this
Yes,
level.
yes.
Okay. And for the sake of our viewers, you also sell silver, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So gold is like what percent of your total production, and silver is what percent?
Well, silver is just a small amount. In terms of amount, it's just a small
Kasi the price is
percentage.
lower.
The price is lower.
Yeah.
But actually, our product is, for example, in one bar of a 25 kilo bar, 78% is silver and 22% is gold. It's just that the monetary, the price of silver is around, it's high now. It's around 100 plus, but the gold price is at 5,000. So definitely more than 90% or 95% of our revenue is really coming from gold.
And a while ago we talked about the reserves and the production cost, etc. So right now, what's your production cost?
We're doing 1,500 to 1,600 cost per ounce. That's all in sustainable cost. For Mako, a little bit higher for IS3, is Sangilo. It's around 1,900 to 2,000. The difference is because Sangilo is doing 500 tons per day. So the fixed cost component is being shared by a small quantity, by a small
only
ounces.
500 tons per day, whereas the other is like 3,000.
That's right. So hopefully when we operate APSA 103, the cost per ounce will be at least similar to Mako.
I see. Okay. A while ago we talked about the expansion plans, and you really have a lot.
Yes.
So what is the estimated capital expenditure required the next few years, and how are you going to fund that?
So the biggest one is the Fund for Asia Alliance. We're estimating around $300 million for the capex of Asia Alliance. That includes the development and construction of the plant. And I mentioned also that the Sangilo plant will require around $20 million. And the upgrade of Apex Mako from 3,000 going to 3,500, it's just around 100 million, but it's already part of our regular capex program. So the Asia Alliance cost would probably be distributed equally in 3 years. But for Sangilo, most of the disbursement would happen in the second and third year because the first year would be permitting first. That's why in 2027 and 2028, that's where we expect a heavy disbursement for Sangilo.
I see. And is that something that you can fund internally, or you need to borrow money? And is that a concern for you?
Well, thanks to the increase in gold price, we were able to generate internally generated cash from this sale. However, we see that the funds generated alone is not sufficient to fund everything. So we are also talking to our local partner banks. They are very willing to support us with this expansion program. So we'll tap them when needed.
So based on your balance sheet, looks like it's not a problem. The banks will be, I mean, it's something that you can easily
Yeah,
borrow.
for now, yes. We're seeing a combination of internally generated fund plus our credit line with the banks will be sufficient for our expansion.
Okay, that's good news at
Yes.
least. Okay, and lastly, I mean, the viewers here really love cash dividends. And you paid around 20% of profits in cash dividends in 2025. I guess the concern is, you have a heavy capex requirement. I mean, what's the plan as far as dividends is concerned? Are you still going to continue with that 20% or, maybe you go back to 10? Like, what's are the plans?
So definitely, our policy is around 10% of the consolidated net income will be declared as dividend. So we're setting aside funds for that. For the additional, well, I leave it up to our board of directors. They will be the one to probably declare it for now.
Yeah, but 10% at least.
10% is it's our regular dividend every year.
So at least the 10% is something that our investors, the viewers can count on.
That's right.
For sure. Okay.
Yes.
So now I'd like to talk about RA 12253 or the Enhanced Fiscal Regime for Large-Scale Metallic Mining Act. And it was signed to law last September. So you will now, because you're outside a mineral reservation, you'll now be subject to a royalty of 1 to 5% and a windfall tax of 1 to 10% above 30%. So anyway, so how will that impact your profitability? Is that something we should be worried about?
Well, it's an additional tax payment to the government, but the good thing is it's a margin based. So, well, if your margin is increasing, that's the only time that you will be paying these taxes. So, for example, for royalty, we see that our initial computation is our margin is around 30% up. So we'll be subject to 3% of our net mining income from operation. For royalty tax, since if your margin is around 30%, I think it's 1%. And if your margin is increasing up to, I think, 75%, you will be subject to a higher rate. So since these are margin based, I think it should be okay, because your cash flow is also increasing, as especially in case today that the price of gold and silver are really high.
So we can still expect profits to increase even with these taxes.
Yes.
I see. And well, I mean, another interesting provision under the law is the share of LGUs. So it will now be 40% of excise tax and royalties and released directly and immediately to LGU. So my question is, how critical is this change in improving mining companies, your operations, and will this actually make you, I guess, more popular among the local people?
Actually, I'm happy with that provision because in the past, where that 40% of excise tax is really for the local government units. However, there are really some delays in the download of funds from the national to the local government. And with the introduction of this law, it's really an immediate release. Although BIR will still collect it, but the provision states that it should be an immediate release. So the benefit of our payments will be immediately felt by the community, especially the LGU. So they'll be very happy for that, and we can operate in a more supportive environment.
So you can help them more, and they will be happier.
They'll be happier, and of course, additional funds for the LGU would mean additional infrastructure and additional project for the community. So together with the LGU, we can really develop the communities surrounding us, because mining community is also subject to community development program or social development activities. We have to set aside funds for specific projects intended for the development of the community. So with this additional tax, it's really a win-win situation.
Yeah, they'll have more funds.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So with that, thank you very much for all
Thank
your
you.
sharing. I hope that our viewers will be able to learn more about Apex, not only thinking that it will benefit from rising prices, but what else you're doing so that you can maximize the opportunity for
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you so much. For investors, Apex is a good example of a mining company that's not just riding gold prices, but also investing aggressively to extend mine life, grow reserves, and build long-term optionality. As always, the key things to watch out are execution, cost, and capital discipline, especially as the regulatory environment evolves. If you found this interview helpful, please like the video, subscribe to Intelligent Investing, and let me know in the comments what other companies you'd like us to feature. This is April Tan, and I'll see you in the next episode.